Welcome back to another exciting episode of Mind the Force, a podcast about Star Wars and mental health. I am one half of this illustrious co-hosting team, Kristine, joined by my even more illustrious co-host, James.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today, James?
Quite well, adjusted to daylight savings, but it helps me see the stars better. So,
I swear to God, daylight savings, it throws me off every time. I forget it's coming. Have no idea what day it's coming. Now my daughter is a morning person. What an asshole, right? She was born at like 4 in the morning. And so she's a morning person. So the second the sun is up, she's like, I'm up. We're doing it. Like we're really living. And so now the sun comes up even earlier.
oh yeah,
I'm just
dogs and
like,
babies don't recognize, they don't respect time.
bro. No respect time. I mean, my daughter in general doesn't respect time, but it's just like, no, just go back to sleep.
I,
Just
w-
go back to sleep.
I wonder how daylight savings time works in Star Wars. They must have a lot of not only time zones per planet, but per galaxy or
I
per solar system.
I hope they've wised up and realized that daylight savings time is ridiculous and it should be done away with.
Yeah, all a
It is
scam.
the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I hate it so much.
They
But
got rid of it in Mexico, so my girlfriend only is 1 hour behind or 2 hours behind, but it's never equal all throughout the year.
jealous. I'm so
Or
jealous.
ahead, I should say. Yeah.
Ah, well, one day I'll get my wish and we'll like Congress will vote that shit out. But until that happens, we are here for a way less serious reason. This is probably going to be the least serious episode we've ever done, and it's going to be fucking excellent. We are here to talk about
Spaceballs.
none other Spaceballs. Yes, I was working up to it, James.
Sorry,
Trying
got
to. There
excited.
was like a drum roll moment. Like, come on, man! Like,
Oh, drum roll, yeah.
stomping on all my thunder. Gosh. Yes, we're here to talk about Spaceballs. Because it's always a good time to talk about Spaceballs. Um, Obviously, like if you haven't seen the 1987 spoof parody of Star Wars directed by Mel Brooks called Spaceballs, you should go watch it. It's actually on HBO. I was so happy. It wasn't like I didn't have to rent it. I didn't have to find it on some like obscure random streamer. It was right there for me. It's like beautiful, brilliant. Um you know, I it's just so perfectly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's an amazing, absurd work of art that only Mel Brooks and that kind of vaudeville style could bring. Like that show of shows. It's that very much Jewish humor that carries over to Larry David. So it's really just that style, but in Star Wars universe. And the fact that George Lucas allowed it is quite amazing. So without his say so, it wouldn't be real. So in a way, it does have the official stamp of approval, even through backdoor means.
Yeah, no, Mel Brooks said like he wouldn't have done it if Lucas didn't give the thumbs up. So blessed that he did. And it's interesting, especially like talking about that very like Jewish cheeky humor. Not that I want to get too political about things, but you wonder if Spaceballs could be made today in its original form.
Probably not. I think very few
Probably
comedies
not.
make it through the door. Well, there will be Spaceballs too, but it's only
Right?
because the original existed. So it has
Right?
a precedent.
Right, we'll see how much they push it. I mean, I know like we'll talk about parody and spoof a lot today. But I know think about something like Borat.
Right.
Just how much like that really like pushed things of just like is this offensive? I don't know, but it's funny.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how comedy was forever. Really, you just kind of dive into like, all
Right?
right, I'm here now, and I'm here for an exhibitionist kind of show, and that's really what Spaceballs is, because a lot of it's actually quite gross and disgusting. But that's
Okay.
part of the humor, just Mel Brooks, from the producers to Young Frankenstein, History of the World, Robin Hood Men in Tights. You can just see this running thread throughout all of his movies, and it's kind of worth watching them chronologically, I feel. So by the time you get to Spaceballs, some people say by that point he's already burnt out, but others say no, that's his revival period. Really, you don't even have to be a fan of Star Wars. I watched this movie when I was like 7. When I was first watching the original 3 Star Wars movies and the special editions. My mom actually hated Star Wars, God rest her soul, but she still showed me Spaceballs, which she loves so much because she loves Mel Brooks and humor and comedy. So that is what she made me see. My dad made me watch Star Wars, and my mom made me watch Spaceballs. So I had the full gamut going in
There
as
you
a, as
go.
a as a prepubescent, little kid.
I'm taking parenting notes. That's how you fucking do it.
When did you first see it? When did you first watch Spaceballs?
See, you have like such definitive memory of it. At some point when I was a teenager, like, when you're just like watching random things as a kid and you like come across it and you're like, Spaceballs, what's that? It sounds, honestly, it sounds dirty.
Yeah, it does sound
So
like a porno.
me and my friends probably watched it not knowing what it was. But it was funny. It was funny. And it made me want to watch Star Wars, but then at the time I didn't really know how to get into it properly. Um, and so now rewatching it now as an adult and such, like obviously like a big Star Wars fan, oh my god, I loved it. I loved it. Oh my gosh, just I don't think I could like everything from like the jokes about the merchandising to every joke about every like dick joke about Schwartz that was supposed to be the Force, but it's a dick joke.
So many
I
nut
love a good
shots
dick joke,
too. It really kind of
right? So many nut shots.
it presaged like that American Pie sort of era of humor and that Van Wilder. It's almost like it's kind of an Animal House in space in parts of it. Just with the dick jokes and just the grossness. But I mean,
Right,
obviously for those who haven't seen Spaceballs, this episode is useless really. But just a quick refresher.
right.
Came out in '87. It's a parody of Brooks films. Mel Brooks, of course. He played President Scrooge in Plain Yogurt. Rick Moranis was in it as Dark Helmet, who is the counterpart to Darth Vader. Pullman
I
was Lone
can't.
Star, which was kind of a fusion of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, really. John Candy, God rest his soul, Second City fame, also like Rick Moranis. He was Barf, half man, half dog. Uh, Daphne Zuniga, that's how you say it, right? Princess Vespa.
Yeah, I think Suniga.
And so on and so forth. They don't have to go into the full cast, but yeah, just a good comedy ensemble, really parodying like the mega franchise. By this point, all three of the original trilogy movies were out, and this was kind of a dearth of Star Wars years, besides Splinters, The Mind's Eye, and all that stuff that came out in the late '70s, early '80s. But after Return of the Jedi, there was really nothing till what
Right.
Heir to the Empire, the Thrawn book in '91. So this kind of kept Star Wars alive in that dead period, really. You know.
The dark times, pun
The
intended.
dark age, the dark times, yeah. Well, I guess let's hop into our socials plug before we get any further.
Yes, yes, as always, we have the little business before the big business. To stay up to date on everything Mind the Force, please check us out in all the places. Mindtheforce.com, Facebook, Instagram, and for all the latest episodes, please follow, subscribe, and share on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, etc., etc. Shoot us 5 stars, because that's how the internet knows that we're cool. And for all big Star Wars thoughts, questions, feels, and smoke, please shoot us an email at mindtheforcepodcast@gmail.com.
And the Mind the Force podcast is retrospective on Star Wars characters across all Star Wars content. All films, TV shows, novels, comic books, and video games are up for discussion. So if you don't want some aspect of currently released Star Wars content to be spoiled, turn around now. This one really kind of, I guess I would also add that this spoils Spaceballs. So if you don't want that spoiled either, not that we can really spoil the delivery and those genius one-liners. It's really you kind of have to have kind of an immature sense of humor to appreciate its maturity. I feel, like
Right?
how do you feel about that?
Uh, I think all the best parodies like find a good balance between like dick jokes and like a deeper message about it. And I think Spaceballs is an excellent source of parody. Um, yeah, no, I think listen to the episode and go watch Spaceballs. Like you said, I don't think we're going to give away the plot here. Obviously, you're probably going to know that at the end, the bad guy is defeated, the hero gets the girl, and everyone rides off into the sunset. Or, crash lands on Planet of the Apes. Um,
Yes, that
so
was
yeah, no,
also very cool.
right. I think spoiler wise, it's going to be pretty light today. Pretty light.
Well, also I think the main thing here is how it kind of paved the way for, yes, as we discussed, the expanded universe, but also just parody in general. Like it, Mel Brooks was the master of that, and it showed you how to properly parody a mega franchise, without really becoming too much of an imitation and kind of standing on its own. Like again, my mom didn't like Star Wars.
Hmm.
You can watch it on its own and still appreciate it for its intrinsic comedic value. So I mean, when I first saw it, I was young and still really got every joke for the most part. Pizza the
Right?
Hut got trapped in his limousine and ate himself to death. Like that's hysterical. I got that as a child. Um,
Right? Right. I don't think like it was necessary because I remember watching it and like enjoying it. And I'm like, oh, you don't like at this point, especially in pop culture, I feel like everyone knows about Star Wars. Everyone knows the general tidbits. Like maybe they don't like if they miss the Pizza the Hut, Jabba the Hut joke, they're gonna get like, oh yeah, Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Like you kind of get the main like you have the main bullet points just from like pop culture exposure and how big Star Wars is in the ether, in the zeitgeist of the past 50 or so years. And so I don't think it's a reach. Like, that's the thing. I think it's one of those things almost kind of similar to Robin Hood Men in Tights, just because it's a story everyone knows. Like, it's almost, I don't want to call it low hanging fruit, because that's, I think, like poo pooing, like, how great this was. But it really is like, oh, people will get this. Like, people will get this and they can enjoy, and it makes them able to enjoy the humor. Which
Absolutely.
on its face is like what a parody like puts first forward is it makes you laugh. It wants you to laugh. It doesn't want to take itself too seriously. And I think Mel Brooks does a really great job of that.
Oh yeah, he's the master of it. I mean, some people said his later movies, some of them, what was it, Life Sucks or something? That one they found really dry. I think that was the name of it. So
Was
you
Life
could,
Sucks heavy? Was that a heavy themed thing?
it was just kind of like a macabre, like it was almost Woody Allen-ish in a way. But
Mm.
I just thought, he did kind of run out of steam after a while. But this was certainly just a very tight movie and respected the source material. Honestly, you can clearly see, for as much as Mel Brooks makes fun of the absurdity of Star Wars, he wouldn't have made this unless he thought there was like validity to it. He knows, it's beyond a franchise. It's an actual like work of art for whatever it is. He understands movie making. He's like, one of the masters behind it. So I feel that this was his homage, really. People look at it and say, no, it's him totally shitting all over the franchise and him just kind of like
No.
poo-pooing it. But no, it's an homage. It's done with reverence. Because some people say Darth Vader looks ridiculous. I'd be terrified because you could just choke me from across the room. So whatever he looks like, I don't really care. But they definitely overdid this to the point where, Dark Helmet, it would give Rick Moranis, neck pains. He'd have to wear a neck brace in between takes, and for months afterwards, he'd have to go to therapy and all that stuff. And he didn't even want to be seen in the room with this thing, in interviews thereafter. So I'm kind of interested in Spaceballs too, how he's going to have to reconcile that trauma. He's going to have to go through that and go through the crucible again, all over.
Right. Well. At this point, I'd hope like that they could make the helmet out of something different, 3D print it. Like the what
Yeah.
they say, the thing was like over 40 pounds. Like oh my god. Like when I heard that, I was like, like it made my neck hurt. I was like, oh my god, not 40 pounds just bobbling around on your head.
Yeah, I mean
Poor
it's not
guy.
easy if you ever deal with gym weights. It's not this is
Right.
kind of where you don't want anything really. You don't even want something to hang from there. But
Right. Um. Yeah. No. It's. It's definitely. I definitely agree that you can see a lot of love for Star Wars in it. Like anyone that says, I mean, I feel like most parodies are done in like an homage kind of way. I don't think that a creative could spend as much time with the
yeah,
source material and not have a certain love for it. It's like why would they then waste their time making more things about it? That would just be a ridiculous waste of time.
it almost wouldn't be a
Um,
parody. It would just be a hate piece. Yeah. Hmm.
right? Who the fuck wants to watch that? Um, and I think that it really paved the way for all the other like Star Wars parodies that we get to enjoy, um, which are also done from a place of love. Like you have the Robot Chicken Star Wars, you have the
Excellent.
Family Guy Star Wars, of course you have all the Weird Al songs, and there's also Oh, what is the other artist that made like a whole parody album of Star Wars songs?
Escapes me right now, but I'm sure we
Uh,
could we could
I
hash
remember
that out.
yeah, no, I definitely have to, I'll put that in the notes because I definitely heard that for the first time at a Christmas special burlesque show last year. And I had never heard these songs before. And me and my friend are like, are these songs real? These are great. Like, they're
So
hysterical.
sometimes the best way to discover parody songs, especially on Instagram, just add music and you just type in the keywords Star Wars and you'll just see what pops up through the artists.
Right?
I find that with like Meyer Lansky, there's the Maya Lansky from the Wu Tang affiliate clan, basically, and it's like okay, that's how I kind of find new songs, mostly by like there's Dred Zeppelin and stuff, Black Dog. There's like almost kind of homage bands or tribute bands or parody bands, and so that applies especially across the board with Star Wars. Like there's actually many, so it's that's the best way to find it. I think just kind of let the social media do its thing. Um,
Right? The algorithm will never let you down
Never, but Spaceballs is
until it does.
until it kills us all. See the C3P episode. But but basically, yeah. I mean, it did launch, like you said, it launched all those other parodies that kind of have this, to hang their hat on. It is the original mantle, other than the franchise itself. But I guess it pays to quickly, I guess, go into the plot. We could just, I guess, discuss how the planet Spaceball itself has depleted its air supply. So President Scrooge, i.e. Mel Brooks, he sends Dark Helmet to kidnap Princess Vespa of the planet Druidia, sorry, and to force her father to give them access to Druidia's clean air. So Lone Star, I the Bill Pullman character, and his sidekick Barf, R.I.P. the great late John Candy, Planes, Trains, Automobiles. So Barf and him rescue Vespa for ransom. They encounter yogurt, just plain yogurt, which costs a
Just
lot of money for
plain
that.
yogurt.
Well,
Right? Plain yogurt is very expensive.
right, for such a plain yogurt, a gold face actually costs so much, day to day. I believe it costs what, 2,000
I think
or 300 in
yeah,
1987.
300 yeah, $300 in 1987, which I can
Every
look
time it
up
was
what that
applied.
is.
And I think it took like 6 hours or
Three
so to apply. They wanted to fire him off of his own movie because of that. And he's not even in it that long.
Ooh, whop. $300 in 1987 is equivalent to the purchasing power of about $855 today.
Yeah, they didn't like
Woof.
that so much. So
That's
A G note per per gold face. And I mean, well, between that and Pete's the Hut, with all that cheese which melted under the lights and actually gave the
right?
actors second degree burns. Between that and Rick Moranis, everyone getting injured, and plus the cost. It's amazing to see this behind the scenes stuff that you wouldn't really know. You can watch a lot of this on YouTube. But yeah, so then just going back to the plot, I guess, the after they encounter plain yogurt, they learn the Schwartz, which again, dick joke. It substitutes for the Force, but with a kind of Jewish vaudeville like spin on it. And they ultimately destroy Megamaid, which is like a Death Star spoof that vacuums air. They had to hire engineers to really keep that, from collapsing. And then they save Druidia. So, a very basic plot. It really just captures
Hmm.
pretty much A New Hope, but except for the yogurt parts, there's elements of Empire and a
Like,
little bit of Return.
right? Right, you had to, right, there was a lot of information to get into one film. But I do think they did an excellent job. I mean, that's the power of the Schwartz.
Yeah,
At work there.
swing. Yeah. Spaceballs,
um,
Spaceballs.
Yeah, no, the amount of like little quips and just little funny moments, like we're not gonna be able to capture it. Like you really all should just go watch Spaceballs. Like I think the first thing that made me laugh out loud, because you didn't mention that Barf and Lone Star are flying around in literally like a Winnebago RV with wings, like, which
Yeah,
is fantastic.
yeah.
Um, and I
It
love
kind of
that. I
brought that
love like
vacation element. Yeah,
right? Like, and I love Barf's line. The line made me laugh out loud. Is I'm my own best friend. I was like, oh my god, he is your own best friend.
or when he introduced himself to Vespa and what's her name, the robot, the Rosie the robot,
Dot.
Dot, yeah,
Yeah.
Dot. What he says, barf.
Voiced by Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers of
Like,
all people, right? Right. The great
which I
lady
didn't
Joan
catch
Rivers.
until later. I had to look it up, and I was just like, Joan Rivers. Where was Joan Rivers in this fucking movie? And I looked
You
it up. I was like, oh my god, she was the robot.
you know she was a cursing and swigging vodka this whole just doing her Joan Rivers kind of vibe. What
Hell
a
yeah. I can only imagine the phone call of Mel Brooks calling Joan Rivers to be like, I'm making this Star Wars
she's like, what
parody.
the
Do
fuck
you
is
want
this? How much are
what
you paying me?
the I feel like she would have done that shit for free. She would have been like, hell yeah, I want to voice like a raunchy C3PO. That sounds great.
It depends if she was drinking or not, honestly.
Right,
But
depends. Like,
well, it was so funny though when Barf introduces himself, he just says Barf, and she's like, "Not in here, you don't," you know. So just little stupid lines like that. Those are the memorable parts of the movie. And honestly, some people would argue some lines are more memorable than Star Wars, but I think that's objectively false. I think you'd have to forget a lot
right?
of Star Wars. But yeah. So you take
Right.
you take it from there.
Um, um, yeah, no, I think it's just, I mean, it was just really enjoyable to watch this again. I'm definitely glad that we pulled this out of our hat as a choice. Um, because honestly, it felt good. Like you ever just like watch, like it was definitely nostalgic. You ever just watch like something old and funny, and it's like these jokes are still hit. It still feels good. Um, because I really think that like something that really made me feel just thinking about like just the general ideas around like parody and spoofs is that laughter is really important, and it felt good to laugh. And I thought that, and like thinking about this episode and kind of how we always like tie these things together, um you really can't ignore the psychological and emotional benefits of laughter.
Hmm.
'Cause we don't get to laugh a lot in Star Wars. Honestly, they're at war. Everything in Star Wars is actually relatively serious. Like we can laugh about it kind of in like a fourth wall kind of way, and like, oh, this is like I don't know, a Jawa is kind of ridiculous, and maybe you don't know what Chewie's saying, so everyone's like, "Rah, rah, rah." Like, but at the end of the day, like the themes of Star Wars are quite serious. So it's nice to have the spoofs and laugh and not take ourselves too seriously. Um, I think there's a lot to be said for not only like the physical benefits of laughter. You have increased serotonin. It lowers cortisol levels. Some say laughter is like linked to better aging, better gut health. Everything is linked to better gut health these days. Um, but even just, I mean, how Star Wars in general is already such like a connecting universe, like a wonderful fandom. It brings people together. Whether it's through conventions or through going to see the movies, especially now we have like all the anniversary showings with all these big milestones coming up, and it's great to like go to the theaters and like connect with all these long-term fans. um but even like a love of Spaceballs is like, if they put Spaceballs back in theaters, or when they have Spaceballs 2 come out, um like imagine like the energy in the theater. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, and to be released in 2027, that's 30 years since Rick Moranis' last movie, The Last Honey We Shrunk Ourselves. So, this is kind of a milestone in more ways than one. Plus, it's the 50th, right, of the original Star Wars as well. So it launches off that anniversary
Right,
year. And
right.
it'll cover the
And I think
prequels,
it's
the
all
sequels, the shows.
right. No, there's it's a rich galaxy right now. It's so like I think it's never been a better time to be a Star Wars fan.
Agreed, because you have the benefit of hindsight. You got the legends, you got the canon. Look, we got this, we got that. Grogu behind you. I'm
Right.
sure he'll make an appearance. They're not gonna miss. They're not gonna not put Baby Yoda in this.
Oh my God, Baby
I would
Yoda.
put
I feel like
seventy
he's,
five
if
dollars
it's
on
not,
it.
imagine instead of like a Mega Maid like situation, they just have a giant baby Grogu.
They're gonna get creative in ridiculous ways, which I'm very excited for. Well,
Absolutely. Right.
there was the 2008 cartoon, which was, I don't know, it was like 13, 14 episodes, but it got the production company went under 3 months after, and Mel Brooks watched. He's like, this is the reason that some movies should just be standalones, and you don't need to necessarily expand it. But I think that was because it was done poorly. So this movie can go either way. But the fact that he greenlit it, like, yeah, money's involved, all that stuff. But I find it highly unlikely he would have been a part of it unless he felt that uh, his heart was in it. You
Hmm.
could argue against the later Mel Brooks movies, maybe not so much, but I think after taking a hiatus, like his reputation's kind of online. Like he's coming back to really like hammer home his legacy. I guess honestly, let's be real. Before he dies, he's getting very old, so I think he really
Yeah.
does not want to just have this in the dustbin of history, to quote Trotsky. I think he really wants this to honor all the 50 years of Star Wars, and I'm sure George Lucas and Disney are all looking at this, of course, with the understanding that it is Spaceballs, so it's the precedent for the legalese behind it. I don't know if you want to discuss that with um, with Lucas and how this movie almost didn't get the green light or almost got flushed.
Yeah, Chase, I want to talk about everything in regards to Spaceballs. Um, yeah, no, there was so Lucas did greenlight the film. Like Mel Brooks said, like if Lucas isn't okay with this, I'm not gonna make it. And Lucas was like he loved it. Turns out he's a good sense of humor. His only stipulation was that there couldn't be any merchandise from Spaceballs. So there couldn't be any toys, there couldn't be anything that could be sold because then it could be confused with the Star Wars merchandise, which anyone who knows the history of Star Wars when it came out in the 70s was that their merchandising was huge. Like they have entire documentaries around Star Wars merchandising and
Everywhere.
how it was developed, like how it was developed, like but not in time for the holidays. They were giving out these vouchers, like this is where the money was. And Lucas knew that, and it's so interesting that the team behind him at the time had the foresight for that because it wasn't it was so new and so innovative for like the toy industry and for like the merchandising and marketing industry to really focus on toys like that for a film as a way to sell it after the fact. So it was really like so much a part of their marketing plan was selling these toys, and so it was really important to Lucas. Like you can't make any toys, um,
A handshake
and
on paper.
right a handshake. And I mean there were a ton of other production issues with Spaceballs, mostly money related. Apparently, at one point, like they ran out of money really fast. They ran out of money quite quickly, and Mel Brooks actually took out a second mortgage on his home to continue paying for the film without his wife's cosign, which if my husband did that, wow. Um,
Yeah.
literally, he almost lost his house to Spaceballs.
Talking about banking on yourself, yeah. I mean, I guess he believed in himself there, and I guess it did pay off. So
Yeah, no, and he shopped it around to like every big studio in Hollywood, and like everyone said no. Like, why would I make this? Like, they were afraid of the backlash from like the Star Wars team and from that production studio, and they're like nobody wanted to touch it. And in the end, it was MGM that signed on to do it. But even they like weren't super interested. They're like, okay, sure, make that. Don't ask us for anything else.
yeah, yeah, kind of like just be done with it. But fans obviously it resonated with them right away because they understood the one to ones. Even again, people who didn't see Star Wars, they kind of found an escape in humor, generally speaking. Um, I think some people went more as a Mel Brooks fan, honestly, than Star Wars fan. I don't really know how to actually bifurcate that, but I think
Right,
people just know that he had that like kind of like track record with Hollywood that they're like, okay, let's give this a go. But of course, it did bring in the Star Wars crowd too. So you kind of had two audiences here really approaching this: the Mel Brooks crowd and the Star
right.
Wars crowd. So I think that contributed a lot immensely to its success. And yeah, I mean, what was it? They shot. That's what was like. I think $2,400. It was the shooting of the jam, and it had to be real jam to explode, pretty much
Yes.
just right. And they would have cleanup crews because sometimes it would hit members of the crew. So there was wasted jam. So this is the thing that Mel Brooks was. He's playing with fire, really. You're gambling with. I know how it is too. You gamble with your boss's money. after a while your boss will get a little pissed. So you got to say, hey,
Right?
the
Seriously.
gold face and the exploding jam and the pizza, the man covered in pizza and it's burning his arms. It's all gonna pay off in tremendous laughs, even
Right?
for
It's gonna be
like a
great.
fraction of screen time. Yeah, and it did,
Right?
it did. It missed no beat. It was one of those consistent movies. Like even if some jokes were a little subpar, everything really hit. There was no like lull. It had a good rhythm.
I mean, it was like a classic Mel Brooks film. Like I think about just from what you said of like, did people go because they were Star Wars fans or people into it because they're Mel Brooks fans? And I do think he's one of those directors of like, I'm just gonna go see whatever he makes. Like Woody Allen really sits in that category.
Mm.
Think about like a Quentin Tarantino film.
Or
You
Scorsese,
don't
right?
even need to
Exactly.
know, yeah, or Scorsese. Like you don't even need to know what it's about. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm a fan of their film. I'm just gonna go see it.
and it's interesting because he carried over. He bridged the there was the golden age of Hollywood. I would say he's since in the '60s. What was it, '67? The producers. So he was kind of more a little bit in the silver age. But he did bridge the
Right?
original old Hollywood, really, just the tail end of it.
Right? Like he would
Still in
have
the
been in.
Well, he was still in the code era, pre 73, I think it was. So he was still in the. He made the producers in an era where everything was highly censored and filtered
Yeah.
under the Hollywood code. So yeah, after that Scarface movie, basically just put like a 40-year moratorium on Hollywood doing many risque things. Mel Brooks kind of grew out of that, but then after Godfather and all that stuff, went into the '70s and '80s. And '90s really when he kind of slowed down, but that 30-year period where Mel Brooks was making movies, he bridged really like the '60s, the Planet of the Apes era, the 2001 Space Odyssey era, the greatest sci-fi film sort of, into like I would call it the Charlton Heston era, into like the '90s, which was the advent of the prequel trilogy, American Pie, as we discussed, just The Lion King, all those sorts of like hits. And you kind of see like even Bram Stoker's Dracula with Mel Brooks' Dracula, you kind of see him coming into this new era. So really, he's one of those quintessential directors like Scorsese that's just been around the block long enough to keep Hollywood going in a way. He was the premier comedic director. Like who else was it really? I mean, John Cassavetes had some things, but like I don't know. Can you name any other behemoths like him?
Oh, James, you are the movie buff in this particular podcasting relationship. Um, I don't know. I mean, what other? I mean, really, like funny was really on television. Like, not really. No, funny was definitely more
Yeah,
on television. You had
yeah.
very few comedic stars that like translated to film. Like, I'm trying to think of like what was funny. I mean, you had Eddie Murphy. You had, um,
Yeah, but he's like '80s. I'm
uh,
talking like '60s, '70s, bringing into that, like for that span of
oh, I have
time.
no idea.
It's
Oh, I
really
have
just
no
him.
idea. I feel like comedy was still like coming off of like think about like the Hollywood like studio era. I think it was really coming off like that like slapstick, um, like kind of like cookie cutter comedy. Like it wasn't like any kind of like raunchy comedy was like very underground. Like it was very I think like stage comedians and like going to clubs and things like that. I don't know if that had especially with the censorship era, I don't really think that they were allowing that onto like the silver screen. I think you had to go get that in like a live show.
Well, you can trace the line of present comedy. It is kind of a Jewish art. That's why I see so many Jewish actors. Honestly, like from Seth
Right?
Rogen to like name anyone. Honestly, and it's just statistical thing. Like it was like pre, I guess film pre-recordings. It was just traveling troops of vaudeville, Jewish vaudeville, and they would go around. You could look at the Three Stooges and their manager Hal, I forget his name, and
True, true. Oh, I
how
used to
how
love the
they
Three
went around.
Stooges.
Oh yeah, and that's that them.
Yeah.
Hal Roach too with the Little Rascals, Laurel and Hardy, and that carried over from they did films, they did short films, and they were premiering in theaters. But then that kind of moved over to the vaudeville, specifically moved over in the '50s to that show of shows. That was kind of where that Jewish comedy sort of broke through, and then it remained on TV. You're right, up until like there was All in the Family too, even though that was
Yeah.
different style,
Oh, I
but
feel
that
like we're
continued.
skipping, right? And we can't forget I Love Lucy,
Of course, yes, Lucille Ball and
right? We
and
cannot.
Desi Arnaz. Right.
right?
They're
Um,
all giants in their own way. I would honestly say Mel Brooks picked up after where Lucille Ball left off almost. I don't really know who would bridge that gap
I can see
of
that.
front upfront comedy, you know. Um,
Right? Because I feel like even like I love that you mentioned the Three Stooges. I don't know why I didn't think of them. I grew up watching the like old VHSs with my dad.
Me
Like
too.
we'd come home from daycare and like every day it was either the Three Stooges or like the original Little Rascals black and white.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
the
like
silent ones too. Yeah, some are lost.
yeah, it's like everybody knows like the color film they made later on, but I'm
Right,
like,
which is
no, dog. Like there are black and white like
right.
shorts
Was it before
of
MGM
like
took over too? Yeah.
yeah, of like the original little kids in all black and white, and it's like this is so good.
Well, they were our gang. It's kind of Cosa Nostra, right? They were
They
Little
were
Rascals
our
was a
gang.
later invention. But that was his name, Ted Healy, who pretty much he was a vaudeville comedy troupe. I guess kind of pioneer, even though he was kind of a dick. He was basically the Colonel to Elvis. He was basically the Three Stooges Colonel. There was an excellent TV movie I watched back when I was
Mm.
like 9. And it shows you how he really kind of like squeezed them for everything they're worth. But they're like, we're the talent. They
Ooh,
kind
I'm
of
gonna
went
look for
on
that.
into film beyond him. Yeah, there was one, not the Will Sasso one, but it was a TV movie, and it described their early days under Ted Healy, and that continued over. And Mel Brooks is a continuation of that tradition, of that lineage, of that traveling troubadours, sort of
Hmm.
not troubadour, comedy troupe, but he yeah, not troubadour, but they basically really just moved it to film now with contracts and everything is more systematic and systematized and focused and clean, smooth running machine. By that point, Mel Brooks took centuries of tradition really and just put it together and threw Star Wars in, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing that kind of semi-ancient tradition of vaudeville, but in a galaxy far, far away. This one's probably a little closer, given the Winnebago.
Just a little bit closer. You don't have to go that far for some
The
sports.
the Hoover, yeah, the shorts. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we could discuss too the humorous healing aspect as well, because you were mentioning how, you know, people deflect with humor, people use it as healing. Laughter has its healing aspects, but I really do think for the mental health aspect, we are a mind the force after all. That does tie into the
Right?
fact that we have some people can only find escape through humor. Sometimes the situation is so bleak that it's like they say on Sopranos. What are you gonna do? Someone dies. What are you gonna do? You got to kind of like
Yeah.
laugh at the macabre. I mean, I met over here in Las Vegas. I met a waiter one day, and he was very nice. He's like, oh, he looked at my ID. I'm 35, but apparently I look 20. So he looked at my ID for the drink, and he said, "Oh, 35. I'm 35." I'm like, "Wow, you look like a 35-year-old. I look like a 17-year-old." But he said basically, yeah, it's because of the chemo. And then he went really dark and deep into his stage 4 cancer,
Oh,
colon, and he really went into. And normally I don't expect that, but he was doing like kind of a bit of a shtick, a little
yeah.
a little comedy stand up, and he was leaning on humor a lot. He's like, and he said it out loud. He's like, "That's all I can do." He's like, it's bleak, but I'm still here working, and humor's not my crutch, but it's my vehicle. It's his vehicle. So I think that
Yeah.
really that specific incident really ties into what you're saying with what Spaceballs is and what you know the Family Guy and the Robot Chicken one. These Star Wars, kind of comedy parodies. They're there to kind of make us forget the dark, evil parts of life and kind of just
Right?
tune that out for a bit. Like it is healing when you're watching Family Guy or Robot Chicken. It's so you're in such a light mood, like you kind of do forget that you have cancer, for instance, as dark as that sounds. It has
Yeah.
a mental health component.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what a touching story. That what are like I love human moments like that when you just kind
It's
of
real.
come right when you just come across someone and just like learn something really profound about them. I always enjoy things like that.
Cut the butter,
And
yeah.
I
Just get through.
shout out to that waiter. I hope he's okay out there.
Over at
Um,
Triple George, yeah, great venue, great steakhouse.
I think that definitely you do see some of like the funniest people sometimes are like holding the heaviest stuff. Think about like a Robin Williams
Yeah,
and
yeah. Or a
how
Philip
like
Seymour
he was
Hoffman.
right like some of like the funniest like most talented people in the world and like look at how much like pain that they were carrying around and how laughter was just really an outlet for them. Like it's so important to have a creative outlet. Like whenever I think about like the not only the benefits of humor, but I guess the benefits of creativity in general, I think about one of my favorite singers was Tony Bennett, and
Yeah.
how Tony debilitating debilitating Alzheimer's for years. But he kept on performing and singing right up to the end. I actually saw him perform when he was 93, and like they hadn't announced it yet. Like it wasn't like public knowledge about the Alzheimer's. But I'll be honest, like if you, it was I don't want to say it was noticeable, but something did happen during the performance that I was like, "Oh, okay, that was him like really having a moment." He was about to start a song and somebody like said something. It was like a nice like maybe 200-person black box theater in Long Island where I saw him and it was great. Honestly, best concert I ever went to in my life. Took myself. I went by myself to see Tony Bennett and it was an A1 evening. Somebody yelled, I love you, Tony, right before a song started. And it was a very quiet theater, so he heard it, and it threw him off, and he started singing the wrong song. And so
Oh wow.
something like that, where I was like, and nobody cared. He like stopped, they picked it up, he started. Um, and they say that like his doctors say, like he kept performing because he'd been doing it so long, and it was so
Second nature,
therapeutic
right?
for his mind that they were like, no, if he wants to keep singing, let him keep singing. Like it kept him going longer than anything else, and longer than any medication would have, longer than any other kind of therapeutic intervention would have. Just doing what he loved to do best.
When you do what you love,
Was
it's
so
like, yeah, it's the
Yeah,
Schwartz,
no,
it's the mojo, yeah.
it is the Schwartz. Ah, that's beautiful. It
It's
is
it's
the
it's a
power of the
real
Schwartz.
energy. It is. When people retire, they die within 5 years, or if they lose their spouse, you kind of see that, and I do believe that correlates.
Yeah,
There is sort of an energetic sort of, balm almost, that's very palliative, and that even in the worst circumstance like Alzheimer's, doing what you love or humor, usually they combine. It helps. I saw that video where
right.
Gaga is telling him like she's helping him with the song a little bit, and then he hops back on the lyric. It's very touching with all
All the
that.
videos of Bennett and Gaga in the later years are just the absolute American treasure gold.
Cheek to Cheek and Love for Sale, good two albums, yeah.
Excellent albums. I love those albums. Um, but it's really and it's really poignant how you can use. I guess we'll tailor it back to laughter. How you can use laughter to really like work through trauma. Like I know having my own like therapeutic journey that there definitely were sessions where like we just had to like laugh about stuff or we had to kind of deter away from things that were so serious and so heavy. And it was important to not only discuss positive things but to laugh at stuff. Sometimes you have no other choice like but to try to reframe something in your mind. And it's like you almost have to like take a step back and look at something and be like, oh, it's kind of funny. Like,
Right. Look at it from that perspective and not kind of look at it from the small eye, but the big eye, like the collective, like, oh, okay, if I were watching myself from a movie, that's kind of funny, even though I'm down in the dirt right now. And that's really hard to play. Like, obviously, we're in bad situations and it's not so funny at the moment, but sometimes it's just like if me and my girlfriend have a little tiff or something, I don't know, I'll just like flash my butt or something just to make her laugh. Like sometimes I'll get, berated for that, but 1 out of 5 times she'll crack a smile and it'll diffuse. It pops the bubble, it pops the balloon and it
oh,
allows you to laugh. A clown balloon.
my husband loves to try to make me laugh when I'm pissed off at him.
Right, it
That
can
is
go
his
it can
go
go
that is his
haywire.
go-to thing. He'll just start trying to joke. And yeah, it really depends. I'm like if
It'll
I'm
go
just not
south.
in the fucking mood, I'm just like, you're always I'm not gonna say how I yell at my husband on my
Right, right.
podcast.
This is we sign NDAs with our respective ones. Well,
Right.
well,
Shout out, baby. Love you.
well I love you too, Ty. But there is an interesting perspective. Like I think Sopranos handles it well with that psychological component when Tony Soprano goes to therapy and early on in the series and it carries through the last season, which I just watched with Ty again. It's the happy clown basically, or I should say
hmm
the sad clown. So in the first
Yeah.
season he says, um, I'm I'm the sad clown. happy on the outside, but sad on the inside. So there's kind of that contradiction, that duality, that juxtaposition. Like we can have two concomitant experiences like overlapping. One you present to the world and one you're really feeling inside. So the humor's going out there, and it kind of creates the it clown, like, hey, happiness, but I'm gonna kill you because I'm depressed inside, and there is that running theme in most horror movies. They have that, and it's not the clown that's
Yeah.
scary. It's the you could just see someone when they're like, hey, yeah, yeah, like their words are sweet and stuff, but they're like, I have a knife, and it's like, oh, get away from, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right,
So
like that. Right, like that movie Smile. Like, oh god, that was such
yes,
creepy marketing. Um.
or even
Uh.
Jigsaw, in Saw, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like Saw. That's definitely a concept. I just, you know what I just realized, is probably one of the best, pieces of television I probably ever watched that was so funny, but so deep. Like, I cried at parts of the series. Did you watch BoJack Horseman
Yes, I've seen parts of it on Adult
on
Swim,
Netflix?
or I've seen episodes. Yeah, when it was on Adult Swim in the
Um,
day in its heyday, right?
was it? I thought it was just a Netflix thing.
I'm pretty sure I watched it on
Um,
the app, on the Adult Swim app. I could be wrong.
I mean, maybe it would be like prime, like Adult Swim type of content. It would have done very well on Adult Swim. I highly recommend watching
Oh,
the
it's
whole
it's
show.
not.
Oh
You're right.
my,
Yeah, it's
oh my
Netflix.
God! Like sometimes that show is just gut wrenching, just like reaching in, ripping your heart out, and then other times you're just rolling. Some
Well, Rick
like
and Morty
honestly, like one
follows
of the
that.
right? Yeah, no, it's very, very Rick and Morty esque, but I would say at some points, like even darker than Rick and Morty gets. Yeah, no, just a really good example of like we can give you like a really heavy theme while also making you laugh with dick jokes. Um,
Like Spaceballs.
like Spaceballs. And it's you need that. Sometimes you can look at something in a really you can look at something serious in a humorous lens. I don't know how serious some themes are in Spaceballs. um,
Well,
I'm
filtered
sure
through
I'm
from the
sure they're
serious themes of Star Wars, and then it's a parody, so it's filtered down.
right,
But the original serious themes are there: father, son. Well, in this case, it's distorted a bit. They don't really go, but more like the mystic elements.
right. I'm your father's son's cousin's brother's roommate.
Right? No, which
No, what
Robot
does
Chicken
that
had.
mean? It means you don't matter. You're nothing.
Well, Robot Chicken had a bit on that, and you could see how that spins off. It was like, "Oh, I'm your father." He's like, "That's impossible." He's like, "And Leia's your sister." That's improbable. And he says, and like 5 minutes later, he's sipping coffee, smoking a cig, and you're saying the Death Star and the Empire will be overthrown by Ewoks. He's like, "You're not even trying anymore, man." And Luke just walks off that scaffold. But Spaceballs did lift that. It created that pedestal, that dais upon which that foundation upon which everything was built. And like I said, it kept the expanded universe going. I would classify it as expanded universe, along with the holiday special, which we covered. Go watch that episode coming out around Christmas for with Steve
Right,
Bender.
you can't
But
watch it yet. You can watch it later.
right,
In the
right, we
future.
filmed it, but it will come out in the future. But even ancillary installments like that, I guess installments is the best word. I would consider Spaceballs very much a canon thing. Like no Star Wars fan can go through life without watching this movie, and no comedic fan can go through life without watching this movie. So you have to watch Spaceballs in a sense, even to know what it is. It may not be your cup of tea, but I generally do believe that it's just one of those things you should know in life. Even if you're on Jeopardy,
Right?
just so you know.
Right, one of those like just cultural moments in the zeitgeist. Like just go enjoy it. Honestly, I feel like you can't really like you can enjoy most Mel Brooks movies at any point. Like I'm a big fan of Robin Hood Men in Tights. I could watch that like I try to watch it every year because it's just so joyous. Um because it's just fun. It's fun to watch old nostalgic things that you know are just going to make you laugh just for the sake of it.
Right, that's the best thing about life. Just like haha, I'm laughing right now. Like I'm enjoying this. Like that's clever, that's smart. Like there's a flavor to this. Uh I could see it working through my brain because it's penetrating a universal kind of human psyche or consciousness. Like it's connecting so intuitively because it's just hitting human nature so hard. So flipping those switches on the TV or the screen it's flipping the switches in my brain because it's so universal and relatable. And knowing the
Right.
references, especially, it's like added layers of comedy. It's the comedy builds, and I think that's what Mel Brooks does so well. It's adding layer upon layer of sophisticated comedy in a very stupid package. You know?
Right. Yeah, no, and hopefully, even if you haven't watched Star Wars, maybe watching Spaceballs makes you want to watch Star Wars. And for that reason, Disney should give us royalty fees.
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
And hopefully,
right.
now they can do Spaceballs too. Maybe they can do a line of action figures. I guess we'll find out. I don't know the exact contract
I guess
language, but
we'll
probably
find out
not.
if Lucas is willing to budge on it.
Well,
Like,
Disney would have to budge. I guess Disney would have to say, well, right,
true,
well,
Disney would
Disney has
have to
action
budge.
figure rights. Yeah, so they would have to, I don't see why they wouldn't capitalize on this if they do like a partnership deal, like, hey, you get X cut of profits, we take
Yeah.
80%, you get 20, it's
Then,
better than zero.
then, then again, how hard can you market to kids when you have like such a adult rating?
Well,
They
kids are eating
say,
Tide Pods,
like they
so
say,
you can get them to do anything.
true,
You can say, here's a toy,
true,
play with it.
true, 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 and you can like curse on Disney Plus now. Like they have
Thanks,
movies that
Deadpool.
right, like you
Thank you, Ryan
movies that
Reynolds.
say all sorts of shit. That is fair. I don't think there are like age limits on Disney Plus, so
No, I mean,
look into that.
look,
I mean,
they have
granted,
the
even
discretion.
on Mind the Forest, we say fuck all the time.
Yeah, you're saying our editors weren't bleeping them out? Oh my gosh, I feel so
Oh
fucking
no!
embarrassed. Oh god.
So
Bleep, bleep,
what
bleep,
the
bleep, bleep,
fuck?
bleep. Yeah, we'll keep that in. We'll keep that part. But yeah, no, honestly, look, laughter, it's good for the soul. But honestly, Spaceballs
That's
really
good for the soul.
that's just the wrap up theme, I suppose. Like it's I'm so glad it exists. I'm so glad it's out there. Mel Brooks took a shot here, just like George Lucas. There is a parallel. 10 years later, he did
Right?
roll the dice in less of a way because like again, Star Wars. It was standing on Star Wars' shoulders, but this could have like come back to bite him in the ass in a major way, and he could have been fired from his own movie as Yogurt, and I guess his other role too. So it was kind of interesting to see him. He would have lost his house, you know. So him and Lucas, in a way, had kind of a little of a parallel journey, and won a little bit more through laughter. Well, a lot more, I guess. But it's just it's a beauty. You know,
Right?
I'm just so happy it's out there.
Right? Sometimes you gotta shoot your shot, and sometimes you just gotta laugh about it.
Yeah.
On that note, please check us out in all the places. Hit us up on socials on Facebook and Instagram and mindtheforce.com. Shoot us 5 stars online so the internet knows that we're cool. Check us out on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, etc., etc. And for all Star Wars thoughts, feels, and smoke, please shoot us an email at mindtheforcepodcast@gmail.com. This has been another very exciting episode of Mind the Force with Kristine and Jedi Master James. And we will see you next time. Stay mindful. Mind the Force podcast was produced by Press Record Studios.